So it's fair to say that Manchester United are not in good form now. That is abundantly clear, and it again was highlighted by the fact they were well and truly beaten at home by Brighton. A 3-1 defeat at Old Trafford for the Red Devils, and it's not really a surprise. That's the scariest thing for me, and I've said this on a number of occasions. These kinds of results that would have seemed, unthinkable or a massive shock a few years ago. Were you surprised by this result? I wasn't. Brighton have got a very good recent record against Manchester United at Old Trafford. Unlike Manchester United themselves have a pretty bad record at Old Trafford really right now. They're losing a lot of games, particularly at home. And Ruben Amorim, a man who is not afraid of going through the press conferences and trying to get his words across and trying to, use the media to influence his club in a positive way. He downright said after this game, this is maybe the worst team in the history of Manchester United. Now, I'm going to give my opinion on that statement because, there's a lot to it there. That's a really hard thing to say, obviously. But, certainly within the Premier League era, I think there is a very strong case to be made that this is comfortably the worst side that Man United have ever had over the last 33 years, or whatever the Premier League's been going for now. It's a long time. So let's have a look at this, guys. Let's have a look at what Amorim said, and I'll give my thoughts on it at the end. Full article on thefootballchronicle.com as always. Manchester United manager Ruben Amorim has described his team as maybe the worst in the club's 147-year history, following their 3-1 home defeat to Brighton and Hove Albion on Sunday. The loss marked Amorim's fourth Premier League defeat at Old Trafford since taking over from Erik ten Hag, who was sacked at the end of October. Speaking candidly after the match, Amorim said, "We are getting a new coach who is losing more than the last coach. I have full knowledge of that. I am not going to change no matter what. I know we can succeed, but we need to survive this moment. I am not naive. We need to survive now. We are the worst team maybe in the history of Manchester United." The Portuguese manager acknowledged the headline-grabbing nature of his statement, but emphasised the need for the team to recognise their current struggles and work towards change. "I know you want headlines, but I am saying that because we have to acknowledge that, and to change that, here you go, your headlines." Yep, United's performance against Brighton was particularly concerning as they failed to register a shot on target in open play. With the host dominating the game at Old Trafford, the result comes on the heels of two positive results against Liverpool and Arsenal, which Amorim previously stated would provide him with a better understanding of his players' capabilities. I think it's meant to say the visitors dominating the game at Old Trafford. I don't think you can say that Man United dominate that game, really. While United managed to survive a scare against bottom place Southampton before winning 3-1, they were comprehensively outplayed by Brighton. There we go. I'm pretty sure the visitors were meant to dominate according to that sentence before. Just to clear that up. Amorim has now lost 7 of his first 15 games in charge, leaving United languishing in 13th place, just 5 places and 10 points above the relegation zone. Amorim's comments on the team's underperformance were unequivocal. "Everybody here is underperforming, no matter what the circumstances. We are underperforming and have to accept that," he said. "It's unacceptable to lose so many games for any Premier League club. Imagine Manchester United." So it's a really hard moment. We have to continue. We have to continue. There is no other way. We have to suffer and continue. The damning assessment of United's current state highlights the immense challenges Amorim faces in turning the club's fortunes around. The Red Devils have now lost 6 home Premier League games this season, their highest tally from their opening 12 matches of a league campaign since 1893-94. Additionally, they have conceded the first goal in each of their past 5 Premier League games at Old Trafford, equaling their longest such run in the competition. United's tally of 10 Premier League defeats this season is also the earliest they have achieved double figures for losses in a league campaign since 1989-90 under Sir Alex Ferguson. While relegation seems unlikely, Amorim did acknowledge last month that it was a possibility. I mean, for what it's worth, I don't think they're going to get relegated, but this is Manchester United we're talking about here. This is not Ipswich Town or Wolverhampton Wanderers, This is a club that should be doing a lot better. I mean, what can't be denied is they are underperforming, yeah, absolutely. We've seen what these guys can do. They beat Man City. They drew against Liverpool. They should have won against Liverpool under Amorim. These guys can perform, but for whatever reason, against the so-called lesser teams, I mean, I think that's insulting to Brighton because they have played so well for a number of years in the Premier League and played some really good football. So For me, this result was not a surprise, given where they are in the league table. I mean, like the article says, they're in 13th place in the Premier League right now. They're level on points with West Ham, who are a bit of a crisis club. They're below Crystal Palace, who were in the relegation zone not that long ago. And they're above Spurs. Spurs are having even a worse season, let's be real here, guys. But yeah, relegation is not going to happen realistically. It's just not. But humiliation is. But the thing is with Man United, right? They beat Arsenal in the FA Cup. They could genuinely, and this sounds ridiculous, they could genuinely do a double this season. They could do the FA Cup and Europa League. I'm not saying it's likely. I'm not saying given how they're playing it's possible, or probable I should say, but I think it's possible. They're that kind of team that can really perform on the big days, but then again, in the FA Cup and in the Europa League as well, you will play a lot of so-called lesser teams. These teams that Man United seem to really struggle playing against under Amorim for some reason. They just can't do it. 3 defeats in the last 5. They're in 1 win in the last 5 as well. They've lost a bunch of games, particularly at home. It's really, really going badly. But is this the worst Manchester United side ever? Well, in the Premier League era, the worst Manchester United side ever in terms of placings was the one last season where they got 8th place under Ten Hag. Now, when it comes to the worst ever, that's a very hard thing to say. The last time that they were this far down was that season I mentioned before, 1989-1990, where they did finish in 13th place under Sir Alex Ferguson. But you know what they also did that season? They won the FA Cup. They're that kind of side. They're a giant team, and even when they're underperforming in the league, there is always a chance for them to do something in a cup competition. That is always possible. So, yeah, crazier things have happened, guys, honestly. They are the defending FA Cup champions, after all. That is a fact. So there is still hope, of course, but this season in the Premier League, they're not. I really, really don't see how they're going to get into a European place through finishing like 6th, 7th or whatever. Just don't see it. And if you go worse, and if they slip down even further, you have to go all the way back. Their worst finish aside from that was all the way back in 1973-74, where they were actually relegated. The season after they were in Division 2 and they won the title and came back up, and then they were in 3rd place in what would become the Premier League, what was then the First Division, the top tier of English football. So it's been literally since the 70s. If they slip down to 14th, that'd be the worst finish in the league since the 1970s, which is crazy. They got relegated like 6 years after winning the European Cup. What's now the Champions League. So yeah, is this the worst Man United side ever? It's hard to say, but is it the worst side in the Premier League era? Definitely, without a doubt. I don't even think it's particularly close. Last season they were bad, but this season they really do seem markedly worse, and they might well recover, but I can't see them catching the likes of even Newcastle, Bournemouth. Those kinds of teams have been far better and far more consistent. Man City are underperforming this year, and they're in where are they now? They're in 6th after they won 6-0 the other day. They're up to 4th now actually because of goal difference and stuff. But yeah, I can't see them getting enough consistency together to beat the sides that are currently in those European places, or what could be European places. The Chelseas, the Villas, the Bournemouths, the Brightons. Brighton hammered them. So yeah, maybe not the worst side ever, but the worst for a lot of people's living memories. If you're under 40, under 45, this is the worst Man United side of your lifetime, without a doubt, I think. But Man United fans, let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Is this the worst Man United side ever? I want to hear your thoughts. And of course, give it subscribe to thefootballchronicle.com to see much more content just like this on the world of football. Like, share, comment, subscribe, ring the bell as well. See you soon, guys. Have a good one.